Okay, hello. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another episode of Whick TV. I am live a little bit early, okay? I know, it's crazy. It's weird. Like 10 minutes before I normally go live. Look at me being weird like that. Um, I'll give you guys a few minutes to kind of jump in, but we got some stuff to talk about. Okay, we've got some stuff to talk about. I know we had an interesting guest yesterday. Well, to say the least, okay? That's one word for it. I got some thoughts on it and the conversation as a whole. I thought I'd get off my chest a little bit. I also wanted to talk about the state of the race. And when I mean race, I mean the political race between Harris and Trump and how that is playing out, how I see things, and what I like and what I don't like. Right? Conservative liberalism says we have to talk about this horizontal flip of yours. Why is that flag backwards, and why are we pretending it isn't? What do you mean? Is it not? Did it mess up again? Like, I thought I flipped it. Do I watch sports? Not really. Okay. So I've said this before, but I'll say this again. I'm not an observer, not really. I much prefer participating than I do observing. That's why I don't really watch other people's shows. I don't really, in general, watch streams or watch Let's Plays or live actions or anything like that. I don't usually watch sports for the same reason. I would much rather be playing the sport and participating in the sport. The people who I do watch are the ones who, on occasion, when I feel like jumping in, let me jump in. Because I vastly prefer doing than watching. Okay, I'm not a sports cuck. Okay, I don't watch other people play with the ball. I want to play with the ball. Okay, that's the difference between me and them. Black Metal Follower 666. Thank you for the 7-month subscription on Twitch. I really appreciate you. Thank you. What's up, Wick? Oh, living my life, doing my thing, getting things done. Keto Burrito says, "Hi, Wick. Yesterday's guest was difficult to listen to. I was watching the VOD, got about halfway through, and I couldn't." Yeah, it was a lot. It was not for the faint of heart. I think it is useful to have that kind of information, though, right? Like, it's useful to hear from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Just how racist can be. But yeah. Can I catch? I mean, I can catch fine. Like, I was never into baseball, but I played football a little bit. I enjoyed that. I'm pretty good at volleyball and soccer, actually. Or I was. Probably not 40-year-old Wick. 41-year-old Wick is not as good as 25-year-old Wick, but, is what it is. Conservative liberalism says, I mean, it's hung backwards, right? No, it's hung correctly. The problem is Discord flips it, and so I had to make another flip on OBS, and I wasn't able to do that for quite a while. Someone showed me how, thankfully, and I was able to flip it back, so it worked out. Which sport? Like I said, volleyball, soccer, those are my go-to. Those are what I enjoy the most. Laser tag too, but everyone's like, that's not really a sport. But you know what? You're looking at 2-time Florida State laser tag champion back in the day. Okay, I'm talking 2008, 2009 era. Okay. Well, actually not 2008, 2009. It's like more like 2009, 2010. But the point remains, right? I was very good. I won money. I'm old too. I hear you. Yeah, we're all old here. Okay, this is old people's hangout. We are just here to fight, to do right, to get things done. Okay, breakdancing is a sport. Oh, I've seen the clips, gang. I've seen the clips. The Australian breakdancer who has, and I shit you not, a PhD in breakdancing. Have you guys seen the clips of that? That's wild. Okay, look, it gives me hope because if she could do it, anyone can do it. The Alex Kirsch Project. Hey, Wick. Hey, Alex. How's it going? Hope everyone's had a great day. Hope everyone's had a wonderful week so far. We're halfway through. It is Wednesday, okay? And we do have some stuff to talk about. Like I said, I'm waiting till till 6 o'clock to really get into it, right? Let everyone kind of trickle in. Um, let them realize I'm live. And we will be taking callers, as we say. Andrew Steele says, what is your thoughts about the political race? As I said, we'll get into it. I'll wait again for more people to trickle in. 2024, A Gay Odyssey says, Whick, Whick, Whick. Remember how despondent you were that night Biden resigned? Sparky and I said this would work out for you. Too much. Look, I still got issues with how this was handled. I still don't like it at all. I don't like Kamala Harris as a candidate. I don't. But she's better than Trump, right? And apparently I'm the odd man out here, right? Apparently, according to the data we have at least, more people like Harris than liked Biden. So I am in the minority. But my point remains. I just, for several reasons, and we'll get into them, I'm sure. I'm not a Kamala fan. I'll vote for her. I want her to win. I want her to beat Trump. But I'm not like super excited about it. I'm not like, hooray. I'll do my duty though. I'll get out there and I'll do what needs done, but I'm not gonna be super excited about it. Okay. Firechild, nice to see you. Andrew Steele says, you are the odd man out. Most people are either full Trump or full Kamala. That's kind of the problem with everything right now, isn't it? You either have to be all in or you are, quote unquote, the enemy. This is a problem. We saw this happen on the Republican side first, in my opinion. Back in 2016, 2015-ish, that era, there was a war, a civil war, if you will, to use a little hyperbolic language, between more traditional Republicans and the more MAGA Republicans. And they fought for control, right? You remember some of the power struggles between Mitch McConnell and Trump over the filibuster and some other issues, right? Well, MAGA ended up winning that war, okay? MAGA ended up winning that kind of civil war and that struggle, and it became a much more, you are either entirely in with the MAGA team or you are a rhino and we will kick you out. We are currently in the Democratic Party having that war that they had. We're having that war amongst ourselves. And that's been going for a while. We haven't lost it yet, and I'm hoping we won't, because the more traditional Democrats, I think, are just better on policy, and I think they're better for America, and that's my team. But yeah, we'll just have to get into it, and we'll talk about it. Portland is Burning says, I think people are just happy to have a candidate under 75, LOL. Look, yes, ageism is still alive and kicking. It's the I hate to be a little soy about this, but I will. It's popular. It's been popular for a while to just hate on people because of their age, right? In both directions. It's a meme, right? You have old people like, kids these days don't know nothing, blah 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 blah, right? And they hate on people, anyone under a certain threshold, and that threshold changes as they age. It works in reverse too. You have 20-year-old know-nothings going, oh man, when I grow up and I'm a 40-year-old guy, I'm going to be totally different. Those 40-year-olds are so ancient and old and they don't know nothing. They can't understand what it is to live in the world that, they created. Look, they're responsible for all the wrongs and the ills in the world. Man, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. It's ageism, plain and simple, okay? Don't be stupid. That's what I try to ask people to do, what I try to kind of like put into people's heads. If you're going to dislike someone or dislike a policy that they have, that's all fine and good, but have better reasons than they're old or they're too young or they look funny or their voice sounds funny or I don't like their shrill tone. Have better reasons, just in general, for hating, okay? We want to up our hatred game, okay? We want to up and become better haters, more astute haters, things like that. Portland is Burning says, ageism aside, I think it's reasonable to want your elected officials to be young enough to experience the impact of their decisions in office. Legislators at the end of their natural lives are playing with house money, quite literally. Portland, politicians do not experience the impact of their legislation like their constituents do. In many cases, the political class are inured from any blowback from any of their decisions. And the only place you can really make them feel it is the ballot box. But yeah, if Trump loses, he's not gonna like go broke or nothing. They'll still have his court cases, but I don't think he's gonna go to jail or anything. I mean, he might, but there will be no blowback. Even young politicians, like look at Vivek Ramaswamy. Do you think it impacts him really what they decide legislatively in office, right? He has insulated himself, and a lot of these political class have, and rich people in general, right? They are insulated in a way that the rest of us are not. The rest of us are not. So, yeah, that argument doesn't really hold water with me, buddy, but I still love you. Politicians have families. What are you talking about, Rabid? What are you implying? Black Metal Follower says, I have a standard rule. If you hate something or someone, you better have reasons for it. If not, I should not hate it in the first place. I mean, look, the hell of it is, everyone's got their reasons, okay? Some reasons are good, some reasons are bad. Average Debate Enjoyer says, I feel the same way about inflation, and rich elites are insulated while the poor suffer. Well, I think we've kibitzed enough. I think we've greeted the day, as they say. Big Nick, nice to see you. He's my number one hater. Always here, always hating. Not for very good reasons, but, you know, he's always here. So, you know, that determination, that grit, I respect it, okay? Willing to come into chat every single day and get BTFO'd again and again and again. It shows a level of dedication that most can't meet, right? The ability to put aside shame, put aside, just all the negatives that come with just getting rhetorically destroyed and getting back in that saddle. I mean, honestly, and I'm not kidding here, that's respectable. That's respectable. It's a respectable thing to get destroyed over and over and over again and still be willing to come back for more. Man, look, hats off to you, sir. Hats off. Rabid Wombat says, poor people have insulated from the effects of changes to capital gains tax changes, so it's 50-50. Is that how that works? Pro-life policies don't really affect rich politicians? Well, yes. Even back when abortion was illegal, before Roe v. Wade, before all of that, when abortion was illegal, it was the rich that got abortions. They would just fly to another country and have it done, right, where it was legal. They would just do abortion tourism. So, yeah, they were insulated from the effects of that law and that decision in a way poor people just weren't and couldn't be. Rabid Wombat says, have families equals legislators can still care about their work because it affects their kids, grandkids. Well, I mean, yes. They should. Too many don't. I think most politicians, most people, but we're gonna talk about politicians specifically right now. But this applies to more than just them. Most politicians care about power and influence. That's what they want. They may have hobbies that they care about. They may have things that they really like and they really want to get done. But at the end of the day, they care about power and influence. The best of them want that power and influence so that they can try to make the world better. The worst of them want that power and influence so they can enrich themselves and their buddies. It's a spectrum thing, right? It's a spectrum thing. Again, most people, right? Most people feel that way. Space of AIDS says, yo, disgusting pig. Do you still reflexively defend a nation engaged in mass civilian slaughter? Are you talking about Hamas? No, I condemn Hamas. I don't defend Hamas. I think what they did on October 7th was horrific. I their mass civilian slaughter that they committed that day, going house to house, slaughtering men, women, and children, tying them together, burning their bodies, that was horrific, and I condemn it entirely. So there you go. But here, yeah, that's where we are. We have a caller. Let's bring in our caller and see what they have to say. Hello. You're live.
Or me.
Well, you were backstage. I'm assuming that means you wanted to be pulled in.
Oh, the reason why is because I was just waiting for the debate, but
Okay. I didn't put him out, but here we are, right? Yeah. Well, I see my YouTube chats arguing with each other. I'm glad you guys are having fun. Uh, yeah, the debate. So here's how this is going to go tonight. At 8 o'clock, or I'm sorry, 7 o'clock tonight, we will be joined by an individual who has challenged me to a debate on free speech and flag burning. If you challenge me to a debate, I'll generally accept, especially if it's a topic I know a lot about, which I do know a lot about free speech. And Eucharist has kindly decided to moderate that debate. So you will get to see a rare sight. Whick will enter the arena, and he will put on his debate hat. I don't know why I'm talking about myself in third person, but go with it, okay? And we will be debating on whether or not it should be legal to burn the flag. I say it is. I think it should be illegal. I think it should be legal. I think that it is an important mode of expression that people need to be able to talk about and say about it. NOK Life says, what is your take based? Well, yeah, you just heard my take. That's my take. We're going to get into the details, get into why. I'm going to save that for later. Okay? Going to save that for later. Space Evade says, do you think that the Nuremberg standard of hanging people for incitement to genocide is okay? You know, no, because that's not the Nuremberg standard. What are you talking about? Do you think that the people they hung merely incited genocide? Merely said words? Do you think that's what happened? They were active participants. They weren't just talking about it. They were engaged in a huge program to eliminate an entire group of people, okay? And they were not just talking about it and advocating for it, they were putting it into practice. Here in America, we have what's called a Brandenburg test. The Supreme Court in Brandenburg versus, I think it was Ohio, I could be wrong, basically laid out the standards for what we see as protected speech versus unprotected speech. Because not all speech is protected under the First Amendment. There are specific standards that you have to meet to be unprotected speech. But we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it. I promise you. I promise you. Okay. Are you linking me things to Julius Streicher? Okay. Do you know who Julius Streicher was? Do you want to debate me? We can set it up, buddy. If you think that I don't know what I'm talking about on this or anything, there's an easy way to do this. If you think that I'm wrong on something, which, again, I'm not a perfect person. I've been wrong before. You absolutely can set up a time, set up a debate, and I will bring you in, and we will talk for about 30 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on the energy you bring, right? And we can have this out. We can hash this out. You can get all your ducks in a row, okay? You can tell me exactly, specifically what you think I'm wrong on, and we can have that debate, okay? But right now, I'm not going to click on your stupid links. I don't know who you are. But yeah, my Twitter is @WhickTV. You can DM me there. They are open. My Discord is WhickTV. You can DM me there. My DMs are open. So many ways to get a hold of me, buddy. So many ways. And you can go through it, and we can hash this out, and we can have the discussion. Whick TV, he created Project X and gave Wolverine metal bones. What are you talking about? I don't know comic shit. Rabbit says, oh God, don't point him to the Discord. Yes, I'm going to point him to the Discord. Join the Discord. I'm sure everyone will love you there. You will be great. Okay, we need fish and we need sharks. Okay, that's the best kind of ecology in a debate space. You need fish and you need sharks. The sharks need their food, Rabbit. The sharks need their food. Yes, new Discord friend. We like making new Discord friends. He's chum. Something like that. Okay, give me 1 second. Ladies and gentlemen. Sorry. Today's a chill day. Okay, so we have some choices what we can talk about until the debate. We could talk about my view from my perspective on the current state of the race, Kamala Harris versus Trump. We can go through it, what I think about each of the candidates, what I think about their policies, such as they are, and what I think about the horse race aspect of it, as in, regardless of what I want to happen, what I think is happening. So there's that. The other issue we could talk about is, well, we could go with Israel-Palestine if you guys want to discuss that. There's been some, it's proceeding apace, unfortunately. No end in sight. And we could talk about that a little bit. It's depressing, but we can get into it. We could discuss last night's discussion where I talked with a white nationalist. I'm curious, for those of you who saw that, how do you think it went? I don't know. It's hard to see when I'm in it. It's one thing to know someone is an anti-Semite and racist and all that, like a white supremacist or white nationalist, if you will. It's one thing to like read about it on their Wikipedia. It's one thing to like hear about it from other people, but it really hits different when they're actually saying that bullshit, right? Like when they're on your show and they're saying just wild, the most racist shit you've heard in your life, okay? Well, the second most racist shit you heard in your life. I've talked to Nick Fuentes before, but Parallax says, I wish you had pushed back more on the race realism shit. Maybe. I mean, here's the deal. It wasn't a debate. It was an interview. The format was such and this is a problem with pushback. Like, what most people mean by pushback is they wanted me to call him slurs and then laugh at him. That's what they want. That's what they mean by pushback. That's what they wanted to have happen. They wanted me to rhetorically punch the guy in the face, piss on him, and send him away, send him to the void, okay? That's what they wanted. That's what they mean by pushback. Most people. Not everyone. Most people. That's just how it is. But yeah, I mean, look, it was an interview. I did challenged his assertions. I think I did very well at challenging most of his assertions. Though it wasn't a perfect interview. Of course not. But it was a little bit of a thing. Luminez says, I think the monkey was a plant to make you seem unhinged if you bit on it. And you in chat bit hard. Did I bite hard? Look, the only reason I talked about the monkey was because someone super chatted about it. And they DM'd me like 5 times saying, you better bring up the monkey. You better bring up the monkey. So that's what I did. Because they paid me. You buying his book? No. I'm not. Mr. I says, is Wick's rather puny Stars and Stripes unpatriotic? What do you mean puny? This is the Stars and Bars, baby. You don't want to offend the racists? I don't know. What do you mean by offend them? The monkey was definitely bait? Yep. Beerwater says, can you give your thoughts on the stolen valor? I can. Tomorrow we're having a whole show on that, to be clear. Tomorrow we're going to be joined by Counterpoints, by Fabian Liberty Scott. We're going to be joined by Aircraft Sparky, and a few others, all veterans. Every single person that will be on the screen will have served our country in one capacity or another, whether that be in the Air Force, Army, the Reserves, the Guard, whatever. Active duty, all of it. And we are going to be talking about the claims, the accusations that have been levied against Tim Walz, that he has engaged in what is called stolen valor. And I think it will be an interesting conversation. I got thoughts. And if you guys remember, back when Tim Walz was first announced as the vice president, it's one of those rumors I had heard, and I wasn't sure on the details because rumors are rumors. You got to verify. I have since gotten more information, a lot more information from a lot more sources, and I have a better idea on my thoughts regarding it. I'll tell if you guys want. I can give you a little preview of my point of view. Do you guys want that? Parallax says you have an entire wall dedicated to the Confederate flag. You guys are gonna say this shit, and people are gonna believe you, Parallax. People are gonna believe you, and that's gonna be a rumor that starts spreading, and that's what I'm gonna have to deal with. That okay? People are gonna believe that's when you say these things. So here's the deal. From what I can gather on Tim Walz, he served for 24 years, I believe it was, before he was retiring, and he served with honor, as far as I understand. The most important accusation, the one that mattered to me the most as someone who actually served the country, right? And I served for 6 years. I'm not a combat veteran, to be clear. I didn't see combat. But I do have a lot of thoughts on people who use the veteran status in order to push talking points, push agendas, things like that. I don't like it in general, no matter who does it. Even if they served with valor, right? I don't like it in general. It's distasteful to me. It's not something I'd engage in usually. There are times and places, but for the most part, if I'm saying a point to you, right? If I'm telling you something of what I feel or what I believe, I'm not going to use my veteran status to push that point at you. It will either stand or it will fall on its own. And I know people have been leaning on veteran status on both sides of this issue, right? Like they're like, I had a discussion with a gentleman yesterday on Twitter. I think it was yesterday, it might have been the day before, who was like, well, in the veterans community, in the military community, X, Y, and Z, they believe X, Y, and Z. And that bothered me because, man, military community, so when did you serve? Oh, you were a dependent? Oh, okay, Colonel Wife, right? Like that okay, here's the thing. This annoyed the hell out of me when I was active duty, okay? You would have the colonel's wife would act as if they had a rank in the military. and the hell of it was, you don't piss off the colonel's wife, right? That's just a bad idea for a multitude of reasons. But there were certain spouses and dependents that would act as if they had earned the status that their parent or their significant other had earned. And that bothered me. It bothered me. It bothers me to this day. I hate it, right? Like when, well, my dad was a major, right? I don't give a shit what your dad was. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what your granddaddy served in. Tell me what you did. Tell me what you didn't. Yeah, oh yeah, there's a name for those military wives. Yeah, triceratops. The people who were there to get the tricare and stuff. There's all sorts of words. But I'm getting off topic. So I think that he has exaggerated his service, Tim Walz. Um, he has exaggerated what he did. I think he did. That said, that doesn't bother me too much. It bothers me a little, not too much. What the issue was that I cared about the most, right? What the issue was that I cared about the most was the accusation levied at him that when he was called upon to deploy to Iraq, that instead of deploying to Iraq, he retired to get out of deploying. That was the accusation levied. I have looked into this since. The timeline on that accusation doesn't match up. He had his paperwork in long before, at least as far as I can tell, long before the deployment came up. So this wasn't an issue of him dipping out or dodging or abandoning his men. This was an issue of he had his paperwork in. So for those of you who don't know, when you separate from the service, whether you retire, whether your term of service is up, medical discharge, doesn't matter, right? When you are separating from the service, you put in a packet, okay? And that packet changes. Like you have a retirement packet or you have just a separation packet. There's different types. Those things take time. You usually put in this packet a few months to a year before you actually separate, before your date of separation or date of retirement. They make you go through, like, for me at least, I had to go through like exams to make to like see if I had any disabilities because of the service. I had to go to some workshops and classes on how to make a living when you're not a military person anymore. It was boring. It was dumb. You had to turn in all your stuff, and there's a checklist, and you had to schedule a bunch of these things well in advance. It took time. It was a process, but it took months. Now, again, he was guard, so I'm assuming it's a little different in the guard. He was also retiring, which takes longer, as I understand it. So it's very possible he had his packet in a year before he actually did the date of separation. And as I can figure, he did. So that's a different thing to me than dodging a deployment. That's him he happened to retire before it happened, right? I don't think it was a purposeful thing. So that's my stance, okay? As far as I can tell, as far as I know, that's what I figured, okay? Who cares anyway? I know Pal Mike says, who cares anyway? I thought everyone hated the Iraq war now, even those adamantly defending it at the time. He should be revered for refusing to go. No, I disagree with that. If he had dodged, it would have been I don't know if it would have been a deal breaker, but it would have been close. If he had abandoned his duty, if he had abandoned his men like that, that's a big deal to me. You don't do that. Dodging a draft is different than voluntarily serving in the Army or the Navy or the Air Force or whatever, leading your men, being responsible for your people, and then dipping when going gets tough, when you're called upon to actually go out and put your life on the line in a very real way. There is a difference between these things. I don't like draft dodgers that much, right? I don't like them. I think that everyone has a civic duty. But I get it, I guess, on a intellectual level. Not my choice, but okay, fair. But there's a difference between that and being in charge of your men, right? Like being in a position of responsibility and abandoning that responsibility to be more safe. So yeah, it's a big difference. Conservative liberalism says literally signing up for it, but dipping when it starts to get real. That's a lot worse than draft dodging. Well, yes. Luminez says, do you dislike people that don't vote in the same way? Civic duty, I mean. Do I dislike not voting? Yeah, I do. Do I think they're worse as people? Yeah, kinda. But it's not that worse. It's like the people who chew with their mouths open. It's that level of annoyance. Now, that level of annoyance goes up astronomically when the same person who says, oh, I don't vote, it doesn't matter, then proceeds to criticize everyone who does or to advocate for not voting, then my annoyance level goes through the roof. I think, no, you're just a stain, okay? Like, because here's the deal with voting. If you don't vote, you don't matter. Hot take, maybe. But if you don't vote, you don't matter. Why would anyone listen to what you have to say, right? Or listen to what you want if you don't vote? Because you're not participating in the system, okay? You're not participating in the system. What politicians and what people who make laws want is the support of people who participate in the system, the people who are going to actually have an impact on their political candidacy. And people who perpetually do not vote. I'm not just talking people who sit out one election every once in a while, right? I'm talking about the people who just don't vote, period. Yeah. No one cares what you want, buddy. No one cares because you don't participate. Should felons be allowed to vote then? I go back and forth on that. I think yes, generally. Cancel the Communist says if you don't vote, you don't get a say on politics in your given country. I mean, yeah, I mean, quite literally. That is the say you get, by the way. Your vote. That is the voice that matters the most. Is if you go to the polls and if you vote. Mr. I says, you mean over half the electorate then, Whick? In that case, democracy should be shut down? No. Democracy shouldn't be shut down. What should happen is more people should realize their civic duty in voting and having a say in how they are governed and how the nation is governed and participate in the system. I don't think shutting it down because some people, or even half the people, don't participate is the way to go. In fact, I think we should do the opposite. We should promote voting. We should incentivize voting somehow. I don't think mandatory voting is a good idea. But I wouldn't be opposed if you can prove you voted that you get like a tax break or something. I wouldn't be opposed to that. Devils would be in the details, of course. It's not something I'm like gonna die on that hill. If someone can give me a good reason why that's a bad idea, I'll listen. But it seems to be a winning thing to me. Here's the thing. I don't like penalties for not doing something. But I like incentives for doing something. Like I like the carrot rather than the stick. I can understand that sticks, right? They have their uses, but I prefer the carrot when it's time. Luminez says, I mean, you get those stickers. Well, yeah, you get a little I voted sticker. It's fun. Weird that election day. Gregory Griffin says, weird that election day isn't a national holiday. It should be. I would like it to be. Average Debate Enjoyer says, is there some nuance if someone sits out an election due to double hating versus someone who doesn't vote at all? Well, yeah, I just said that. I think sitting out once or twice in your life or whatever, okay, I get it. I understand. But I'm talking about the perpetual not voters. Does that make sense? Keto Burrito says, Whick, I have an idea. If you vote, you get a free gun. It's the American way. What kind of gun? Are we talking a rifle? Are we talking a pistol? What do we talk about? What about bullets, right? One vote equals a case of bullets. I don't know. But then you'd have to ask what kind of bullets. I don't know. I think 2020 made it pretty clear that a lot of more people would vote if it were more convenient. Yes, I think that there are ways we can ease the process. I think early voting, mail-in voting is good, actually. I mailed in vote before it was cool. I was a military man, remember? And when you live, even in the States, when you live in a state that you do not call home, right? When it's not your home of record, you can't vote in that state. You have to mail in your ballot. It's an absentee ballot. Night of Day says, I believe the Electoral College is the only thing holding the country together. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? The Electoral College is the only thing holding the country together. I don't like the Electoral College. I think I understand why it was implemented. And I also understand that we need a check on mob rule, pure democracy, as they say. However, I think we have that check in the Senate. Like, so we have the House of Representatives that you get representatives proportional to the population of your state. So California gets more than Wyoming, for example. They get more representatives from that state because there are more people there. It makes sense. The Senate is the opposite of that. It is the compromise. It is the check on that, where each state only gets 2 representatives, regardless of size, regardless of population. I think that's a great system. I think the Electoral College is just overkill. It's just overkill on this system. I don't like it. I think that land doesn't vote, people vote. And I think that if we got rid of the Electoral College, it would be better overall for the nation. I just think it would. Night of Day says, if you didn't have it, small states have no say in the presidential election. I mean, they'd still have say. And again, like I said, they still have the Senate, so they'd still have say in governance. It wouldn't be like, I'm not for getting rid of the Senate. I'm not for getting rid of the Supreme Court. I'm not for getting rid of a lot of these checks and balances, right? I think these checks and balances are important. But when it comes to the Electoral College, I am not a fan. Luminez says, I think the college should exist because I can't think of a fair system. Well, again, for a federal presidential election, which is the only election that the Electoral College matters in, to be clear, right? I think it's fine to do away with it and just having a straight up and down vote. The Shoe Boots says, they say would be similar. The actual voter representation would be more accurate. Getting rid of the college actually improves state representation. I'll let you get into the details. Average Debate Enjoyer says, yeah, Electoral College isn't based on land and doesn't give any small states more power. Districts are broken up based on population size, and amount to state is based on state pop size. That's last time I looked into it. Maybe I have to do another deep dive again. But last time I looked into it, the Electoral College did give smaller states outsized voices over larger states. And what I mean by that is that someone who is voting in Wyoming, for example, has a proportionally more say than a individual who voted in Florida or California. Now, it gets weird because at the end of the day, based on how our politics are playing out, only like 6 states actually matter because we know how every other state's going to vote, right? We know where California is going to go. We know where Utah is going to go. They're always going to go blue and go red, respectively. It's not going to change, right? At least not in the foreseeable future. So when we talk about battleground states, when we talk about swing states, the battleground states are the ones that are gettable, the ones that there's an actual fight for. And there's about 6 of them, if I'm remembering correctly, in this election. And it can change over time, right? Florida used to be a battleground state. I don't think it's a battleground state anymore. I think it's pretty red. That might change, but currently there's no real plays for Florida being made, okay? It's understood and it's expected. They'll go red. I could be wrong. There could be a game changer. I was wrong in 2020 about Georgia. I did not think Georgia was in play at all. If you asked me what the swing states were, what the battleground states were in 2020, I would not have mentioned Georgia. Georgia was a shock to me. It was a surprise. So I've been wrong on this before. I'm sometimes wrong, gang. happens. But yeah. Yeah, Zero Fox says, but those swing states change over time. Yes. And over time being decades, though, right? Like, it takes a while to change. Several cycles, usually. Black Metal Follower says, okay, there's a topic I would actually like to talk to you about. What's the topic, buddy? What's the topic? I have a topic for you all. I have something to talk about. Okay. So, just so you all know, just so we're aware, so we remember, even though I have it in my description, I have it in my titles, on my Twitch and my Kick and all that, right? I do get a check from Progressive Victory. They do pay me, okay? So keep that in mind. Progressive Victory, and August 22nd, gang, on August 22nd, Progressive Victory is holding a nationwide watch party. So Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Ohio, North Carolina, we're going to have watch parties in those areas. So if you're in those areas and you want to watch the what are we watching? We're watching the DNC, the Democratic National Convention, okay? So if you want to watch the Democratic National Convention with some Progressive Victory folks, we're having some watch parties to do that. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be great. And you can check them out, okay? And how do you do that? Well, where do we go? Where do I go to sign up? Well, guess what, gang? I got a sign-up sheet for you. I'm going to post it in... Oh, did I post it right? I'm pretty sure I posted the right sign-up link. I'll post it in the Twitch. I'll post it in the Discord. I'll post it in the Kick. Okay. And you, my dear viewers, if you want, can check that out. So you click on that link, and you can sign up and fill out the form, and you can go check it out. Determinata says, Whick, what does your involvement with PV entail? Sorry if you talked about this somewhere else before. Oh, I've talked about this a lot, but I'll talk about it again. So basically, I get a consultancy fee or a check, basically to kind of go to meetings and things like that. Every once in a while, they ask me, they don't tell me, and I'm not forced, but they say, hey, would you like to promote X, Y, or Z? And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll promote X, Y, or Z. And in this case, it's a watch party. I also went to the Ohio canvassing event, and I really enjoyed that. And I'll promote that to my followers, and that's kind of what I do. Yeah. Obviously, they don't choose my guests. They don't prevent me from having any guests on or talking about any topics. And I think yesterday was proof of that. I had a white nationalist on and had an interview with the guy. So if anyone's suggesting that they have a say in my guests or my topics, they're retarded, frankly. But yeah, I do get a check from them though. So you can ask me, well, why do they pay you? Good question. I don't know. I don't look. I'm just gonna take their money. Okay. Like, look. The efficacy of paying me, I don't know about that, but I'm glad they do. Determinata says, haha, so it's mostly contingency free and if they ask you to promote something that they're doing, maybe. Fate says the guy was retarded last night. Was he retarded or was he evil? I don't know. Maybe both. I don't use that word lightly either. Okay. I think that if you were promoting policies that are anti-Semitic and racist, and you are proudly anti-Semitic and racist, I think you're probably a bad person. If you're advocating for the dissolution of America in order to set up ethno-nationalistic nations, yeah, you're probably a bad person. Black Metal Follower says, it's about popularity of communism in Western countries like USA or UK, etc. Okay, I'll pull you in for a few minutes. But yeah, gang, check out that link. Click that link if you want. I'll put it in my Discord too, and you can sign up for a watch party in your area. Hooray! Remember, it is on August 22nd. Okay, so check it out. Check it out. But yeah, I'll pull you in, Black Metal Follower, and we can talk for a few minutes. Remember, gang, at 7 o'clock is the debate, so stick around till then. Are those the only options? What do you mean the only options? Dumb and evil or retarded? No, there's others, but I don't want to get into the weeds on this just yet. Hello, you're live. Hello, you're live. Oh God, wow, that was wonderful talk. Good talk, good talk. Fate says I would have lost my shit in the beginning. Look, I have a lot of patience. Not every day, right? But if I go into something and I know that they're gonna piss me off, I can set aside some of that and just kind of be understanding that it was an interview. I think helps because I'm not there to make it into this fight. I'm there to gather information. I have God patience. Not always. You try joining again? We can try joining again, sure. Hello, you're live. Hold on. Primordial says you didn't push back at all. You let him ramble off like 30 anti-Semitic talking points in a row. Primordial, are you retarded?
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Give me a second. Yeah, give me a second. Give me a second. Give me a second. Give me a second. I'm talking to my audience. I gotta address this. If you watch that, and you said I didn't push back at all, then you're just a liar. You're just a liar. There's plenty of times, and I could show you clip after clip after clip of this when he brought up rape statistics, and I countered that. Right when he brought up black slavery, and I countered that. When he brought up the Jews control the media, and I countered that. Oh, wait, you're probably one of those people who well, actually, he had a point there, right? Again, Primordial. What I want you to do is I want you to fuck off, okay? I want you to keep fucking off, okay? I want you to keep fucking off, like, until you are out of fucks to give. But then I don't want you to stop there. I want you to go to the fuck refueling station. I want you to gas up. I want you to take the gas station, the fuck receiver. I want you to shove it up your ass. I want you to pull the trigger, and I want you to fill back up on fucks, okay? So you have lots of fucks. And then I want you to keep fucking off, okay, into the sunset. You don't know what you're talking about? You're a liar, okay? And, yeah, get the fuck out. That's all I have to say. Fair enough.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, how are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me. Yeah, sure. I mean,
of course,
the whole thing is supposed to set up something else, but there's actually a topic I want to talk about before, like, the whole main debate started.
Sure.
Well, I just thought it's gonna be a little bit personal because what I actually been I mean, it's anecdotal. I'm not sure if there's like collect data. Maybe I try to like find some data regarding this. It's the popularity of the communist or like socialist ideas, and the reason why I want to bring it out is because I come from an upbringing that my family was very highly victimized by communists during the Second World War. My family comes from the area of Volhynia, when the area of Volhynia was part of Poland of the Second Republic, and before it became a part of the new Ukrainian state. The way how they were deported is because they didn't want to be Russians or like work with communists on the first place, and they were deported to Gulag, yada yada yada. And what it actually starts to a little bit worry me, because of course there's like huge pushback against ideas such as like ethno-nationalism, fascism, and national socialism. This is actually understandable because these ideologies have created
pain and hardship,
pain and hardship, and of course, for a kind of a utopia that will never going to be achieved. But this has to be said the same thing about communism. And what actually terrifies me is that it's not just that people like subscribe to communism, because I mean, you want to be communist, that's fine. You want to be a Nazi, that's fine, because I believe in freedom of speech, freedom of expression. You want to be a proud communist, come for it. I mean, sure, there will be some social consequences out of that. But what I do actually terrifies me is that I think like I could be wrong. Please, maybe I will try to find some like data on this. Is that more people like on the West, like I would say UK, I would say and United States of America, or maybe Brazil, because I also have a friend from Brazil who will tell me about this, that communist ideas are becoming more popular around young people, and it's not just like leftists, and in the concept of circles as well, because there's like this weird like I don't know, it's like a incest hybrid of an
Sure.
ideology, which is MAGA communism.
And I want to so there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
And I think that like at the end of the day, uh is it becoming more popular? I think extremism is becoming more popular. I think that we are seeing a rise in extremism across the board. And I do consider communism not I'm not just talking dem socks or anything. I'm talking like full on communism. I do consider that extremist ideology. I think that there is this idea that the system is broken. Things aren't working right. There's this general malaise that's been going on since the early 2000s, honestly. Um, that's why Obama's message of hope and change was so powerful, right? People want hope, they want change. They felt bad. But yeah, it's just one of those extremist ideologies. Now, the thing is they have pretty good propaganda in that they pit themselves as the answer against other extremist ideologies. For example, they'll put themselves as the true opponents to fascism, and everyone hates fascism, right? No one likes Nazis, except unless you're this weirdo dude, right? But no one likes Nazis. No one likes white nationalists. No one's like these racist kind of fascist individuals, and so they position themselves as, "Hey, we're the guys that can actually stop them. Okay, we're the guys that can actually fight them." It is not true historically. It
Yeah.
is not true currently. They hold
Yeah.
no power. So I think that online it gets a lot of traction, but as soon as those policies and stuff try to get into the electoral system, they just get. I don't think they have any power anywhere, and that's a good thing. Bye.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, this is like when I was like learning about the history of the totalitarian ideologies. I think one of those, I think it starts from like nihilism, which is what that Friedrich Nietzsche was trying to, I think, warn it about this in his many workings. And I think it's hard for people to actually find our meanings and life, and people will likely have the high level sustainability towards the more extreme, more like a utopian ideologies, like you name it, because people I saw want to like reach the heavens, but they will start creating an absolute hell on earth. But speaking of communism, because you mentioned about like on how they portray this is where one of I can't remember the professor, but I can send you a link. Of course, he will speak Polish. It's a Polish seminar, but it's on a
I
Wszechnica channel. He said one very powerful thing is that when it comes, the biggest difference between Nazism and communism is that Nazism for a very long time was pretty open of what they were doing and what they're planning to do, while the communists, they were very deceitful about it. I think they knew how to like. Play with language a little bit and making sure on how to capture someone else's attention and support through the manipulative language, and sometimes using the I think liberal ideas or maybe like liberal words or like part as a part of a to clothe the their true intentions. So do you think that we have, but right now people can are open about this, because I've seen like um um sometimes YouTube. I know this is just like me watching YouTube clips and all that, so it could not have much value. But when they say like, okay, if that person is not according to your ideology, what would you do with him? Or we will send it to the gulag, or we will just like
That's a
get rid of it
well. We're
completely.
gonna talk about that in a few minutes here with my debate partner. Actually, maybe not that extreme, but um this is a more and more common response across the political spectrum of people wanting to punish their political opponents because they're saying things that they don't like. So they want to punish them, whether it be criminally, legislatively, socially. They want some sort of thing to happen. Communists, tankies specifically, are pretty extreme about it, right? They're pretty extreme about it. They do. They're they want people to get the wall, right? Like they do believe that these people have to be eliminated. Now some of them will say that they're the moderate communists and they don't want to kill them, they just want to send them away or separate themselves. It's honestly a lot of the same kind of rhetoric as you heard last night on my show from a white nationalist who has said he was a moderate anti-Semite, right? Like he was a moderate one. It's
But here's another problem that I have it because
please.
a lot of people like the communists when they're open people about it, and there's like Hakim other like Yugopnik, they actually did like a lot of videos who are completely like to actually promote historical misinformation. Because when I watch about videos on, for example, how about communist Poland, about the history of Ukraine, yada yada yada, like I know this is sounds all I'm getting triggered, but yeah, because okay, I'm fascinated with history. Okay, my also favorite subjects are like World War II, especially the Polish-Ukrainian relations between before, during, and after
Do
Second World War.
you play
Yep.
Hearts of Iron 4?
I'm afraid not, but I know I really want to play it. I've seen the memes. Trust me, I've seen the memes. I've seen the gameplay, some of it.
Just had to ask.
But there is. But here's we talked about the game's name. But for some reason, how is that possible? They do not suffer the same social repercussions as
I
the
think
National Socialists do, or the fascists, or like
sure.
the
No, I
people on
get
the
you.
right.
I get you. And I'll answer your question, but then we gotta move you out because again,
Yeah,
my debate partner and the moderators here and things like that.
understandable.
So my theory on this is that there are some, again, there are some of them who are more mask on about it, right? They say things like, "Oh, well, I just want to help with human flourishing, and these are the ideas I think that would be better for people. I think socialism," and they use the word socialism, right? We think these socialistic policies are actually good. We want free healthcare, free everything else, right? And those are good things. No one's against feeding children or helping people get healthcare and things like that. Those are good things. But they use it to cover up the rest of what they want. And I think this is very important. Whenever someone says, "Hey, I want to do this," one of the things we should ask them is, "Okay, how? How would you like to do this?" Because sometimes we can have a great goal, but we can be really, really bad about how we get there. The ends do not justify the means. I think it's very important to do that.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
buddy, thank you for calling in.
Yeah, just one last thing, because you mentioned about games. I highly want to recommend you a one game by Distracted Creation called War Mongrels. If you like Hearts of Iron or
War
like any strategy
Mongrels,
game,
link me
War
it.
Mongrel.
Link me it in
I
my
will do
Discord.
it.
Thank you.
Trust me, you're gonna love this. It's a great
I-
story, great strategy game. It's like chess, but better.
Okay, I'll talk to you later, buddy.
See.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, sometimes these are my best guesses, gang. These are my theories. Whether this is true or not, I'm not 100% sure. But these are my observations, and these are what I think. You can challenge them if you'd like. That's fine. Okay. Well, gang, it looks like both my debate partner and my moderator are here. Are you guys ready for an interesting discussion? Are you ready for Whick to actually debate? Okay. Not often that I do this. I got a moderator, right, to make it all official. But I'm going to pull them in, and we will see how this goes. Hello. Welcome.
Alrighty. Let me turn on this.
Sure. Take your time. Get everything situated. Get set up.
Boop, boop, boop.
There we go.
And
Look
then,
at
where's
you.
my
Oh, no. All your
thing?
books. Oh, no.
I'm in a new place. I'm less than half unpacked. So
Hey.
Yo, you look
There.
like, look, this is almost painful to look at. Like,
I know.
it's like you've been
Don't worry,
bare.
they're all in boxes over
I
there
know.
or in my brother-in-law's basement. So or in my new office. They're
Gotcha.
split now. I have multiple places to put my books now, which is great.
So there used to be books in that bookshelf, and you're moving
Yeah.
them out.
No,
not
no,
the
I
list.
moved to a different place, so all my books are boxed up here now. So I was in a different physical location, and I just haven't unpacked all my books yet. I've been unpacking the rest of the house so I can live. Unfortunately, as much as I like books, books are not necessarily to live most of the time. So
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for being here. I really appreciate you. So, I got a moderator to make this kind of more official, and Eucharist
I
has
know.
been.
I know your game, bro. It was 2-on-1 from the beginning.
Oh,
I
yeah,
knew it.
exactly. That's what's gonna happen.
he couldn't take you by himself, so he had to bring in a
Bring in a ringer, okay? Eucharist here has been on my show before. You guys should know him. And he's someone I trust to be fair, to not privilege me, and to make sure to, if he does decide to ask questions, right, to ask some pertinent questions on the topic and surrounding things. But right now, I want to give each of you a chance to kind of introduce yourselves just for the show and tell people who you are and where they can find you. And then we'll get into the debate itself, and I'll pass the mic to Eucharist, and he will be the master of ceremonies. But first of all, hardcore one for you. Go for it.
Hardcore one for you on Twitter and just about every other thing that you could possibly think of. I mostly just talk shit these days. I used to debate, I used to do other shit, but it's mostly just talking shit these days, and I take pictures. So if you look at any of my social media accounts, you can probably get over to where my photos are and things like that. But I'm not really here to promote stuff. I'm here to slaughter. Where's your wizard gear? What the heck? I was ready
Only
to
the
paint the
truly
wizard.
magical can see my wizard gear. Okay, so if you can't see that, that's on you.
Yeah, this
but
is
we'll
some
get
Emperor's
into
New Clothes.
we'll get into the opening statements when the debate happens. But I just want to make sure you guys get a chance to introduce yourselves. So Eucharist, tell people who you are.
I go by Eucharist on the internet. You can call me Philip if you want. I teach politics as a day job, but and other times I just like to do arguey things. Sometimes it's been a while, but Whick ropes me in from time to time. He snags me for a panel, or in this case, snags me to debate. I don't really do streaming content creation stuff anymore. The only content that I create these days is on my Substack, which is called Everything Was Beautiful. So it's everythingwasbeautiful.substack.com. I write about books and things, so if you want to go over there.
Check them out, gang. Check both of these individuals out. They're great people. And I thank you for agreeing to this. Hardcore. Is that how you like to be referred to? Just out of curiosity.
You can call me Carlos, or you can call me
Carlos.
Hardcore. I don't
Calling
really
you
care what
hardcore
you
is a little. I don't know. It's weird. I'll call you Carlos. But I'm
Yeah,
gonna
you
pass
can
the
call me
mic to
Carlos.
Eucharist, and Eucharist, take it away. However you like.
All right, so I was told that this was a conversation about flag burning broadly, about free speech, and about, well, whether or not flag burning should be legal as a form of protected speech, or whether or not it should be punishable in some way, perhaps according to flag codes, or however we should choose. And so I expect that this will be a conversation about the difference between legally protected expressions and desecration of a national symbol that we probably, I think all here actually agree should be shown some sort of deference or respect as a normative issue. So I was told both contestants, both debaters are interested in keeping this as open as possible. So I think we should kick it off for opening statements, and then after that I'll let the conversation flow however I choose. I will keep a kind of a rough tally of time, and so if one of you starts dominating, I will start to intercede and see if we can tip that balance a little bit. And then if it becomes completely unproductive, I'll also intercede. The only other case where I'll intercede will be if you all are just boring and have nothing to talk about, I will pose provocative questions. So have you all agreed upon in advance which of you wants to go first?
You can. I don't care.
All right. If they're seeing no objections, Whick, you want to start us off?
Sure. First of all, $50 from Frank. Well done navigating the conversation last night. You earned this dinner on me with that one. Thank you for the $50. Great start. But let's talk about free speech. That's what we're here to discuss. So free speech is something that a lot of people say that they want, that they say that they support. But when it comes time for brass tacks, when the rubber hits the road, almost everyone has some form of censorship that they want to impose on other people. I think that free speech is a mechanism. It's a technology that we use to help us in our quest to find what is right and find what is true. When it comes specifically to flag burning, one of the things that we need to talk about is freedom of expression and how that falls under the free speech umbrella. I think that being able to desecrate even a symbol that we all, even me, I have it right there, right? Hold dear, allowing someone to desecrate that symbol, right, is important for a few reasons. Because by keeping the shield strong that protects desecration on symbols I respect, it allows and protects me when I want to speak out against symbols I don't respect. When I want to burn a flag that I don't respect, like the Hamas flag or something. It's something, a shield that protects both the good and the bad, if you will. And weakening that shield in order to prosecute the bad actions, to take issue with the people who are doing the bad thing, is going to necessarily weaken the shield when we want to protect people who we think are doing something noble or just or good, and protesting and putting out speech that we think is good, true, and accurate. One of the things that we have that we're bad at as a society, as a culture, as a species, is knowing with certainty what the truth is. We all believe certain things, right? We all have faith in certain things, but we don't actually know. We just think that we do. And so when we put laws and build tools and build mechanisms and exceptions to be able to punish speech or expressions that we think are blasphemous, that we think are hurtful, that we think are hateful, what we are doing is we are providing a stopgap on our bad ideas that we think are good ideas from being able to be challenged. So, in conclusion, we need to protect even vile speech, because by protecting that, we enable the people who are speaking out against things that are untrue to continue to speak out against things that are untrue. And by protecting the Nazi, we protect the right of the BLM protester. By protecting the fascist in his speech, we're protecting the speech of the LGBT community. When protecting the Hamas protester on campus, we're also protecting the Jewish protester on campus who wants to speak out against them. We need to keep that shield strong in general. And that's my closing thoughts. Thank you.
All right, that was about 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So hardcore / Carlos, you're going to get about the same. I'll do hand cues when you're getting close. I mean, you're about 30 seconds. I'll do this and whatnot. But I'm assuming neither of you is particularly strict, so I'll give you a little flexibility. All right, go ahead.
All right. So, for the most part, I don't necessarily disagree with anything that you said there. I think that speech is very, very important. But here's the problem. When we're talking about speech, we mean speech. We're not talking about actions. We're not talking about doing things. Like, give you an example. You are saying that burning the flag is a form of speech. But why is that the only form of speech that is encapsulated in this special thing? I mean, it's weird to me that burning other things doesn't fall under this, because like if I want to go into your house, I don't like you, I can't set your mattress on fire as a form of speech. I really disliked him, so I set his mattress on fire. That'll teach him. But for some reason, you can go and you can take a flag and you can set it on fire anywhere you want to, and they'll call it speech even though it has nothing to do with speaking. Right? Now, here's the thing. Now, I don't necessarily think that there should be a federal law saying, that burning a flag is whatever, right? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this is a states' right issue. And the Supreme Court had no jurisdiction or reason to make a completely new fictional concepts in order to justify what they wanted to do, which was burn the flag. Because the only people who ever really want to burn the flag is leftists. They love to burn the flag. And the only time that leftists really care about free speech is when it's not free speech. Because you mentioned censorship earlier. Well, yeah, censorship is important when you have children watching or something like that. But that's not the kind of censorship that they talk about. They say words are violence. And I know you and me don't think that way, but that's the kind of censorship that they're talking about. They're saying your words are violence in the same thing as they're saying that your actions setting on the flag on fire is speech. So not only are we watering down what speech means, but we're also incredibly hypocritical because, like I said before, what is the justification for burning the flag? You really hate the country? You're really trying to piss somebody off? And why do we gain for you being able to set a small fire in a public place? I don't see the merit or the worth in saying that is a form of speech because it's not speech at all. It's literally setting something on fire, which is illegal 9 times out of the 10 if you're not freaking burning a flag.
All right. With that, I believe we're going to move into free-flowing discussion. Wick, I assume you have a response. I'll see where it goes, and I'll poke and prod as necessary. Go ahead.
Sure. So, first of all, the First Amendment and free speech is actually does cover more than just speech. It does cover expression. So, for example, art. Have you heard of Piss Jesus? Do you know what that is?
Yeah, it's where somebody made some kind of thing of Jesus and he
Yeah.
pissed on it, or it was made out of piss. There's shit Christ. There's a couple of
Yeah,
them.
there's that, right? So the First Amendment, the freedom of speech, colloquially, protects that as well. Even though there were no words on that, it was art. It was it was an expression. You also are protected for performing certain actions, right? It's not simply the fact that you are allowed to say whatever you want. There are other protections involved as well. So, for example, you can make art that has no words and it's still covered under free speech. When we talk about flag burning specifically, you asked a few questions like, what do we gain from allowing that? I thought it was clear in my opening statement, but I'll be a little more clear now. I think that there is value in performing an action that can piss people off. I think there's value in that. Do you disagree?
I think to an extent there is value in that, but the argument for not flag burning is not that it's offending somebody. It's not about offense whatsoever. It's about the people of a state deciding that they don't want something to happen and that their flag, like, give you an example. I guarantee you if Texas was allowed to tomorrow, you would not be allowed to burn the American flag or the Texas flag anywhere in my state.
Do you think Texas should be allowed to prevent black people from voting?
No.
No. Well, it's their state right? They can decide what to do in their state. And if a majority of Texans want black people not to vote, do you think they should be able to stop them from voting?
It's also they're the constitutional right. And if you know anything about the difference between the federal and the state deal, the federal government covers everything that the states are above the state. And voting for the president is above the states.
I agree. Let me introduce you to something called the Bill of Rights. Okay. The Bill of Rights are something that is in the Constitution, and it is above the state's rights. So a state cannot violate your Second Amendment right, for example. They can't vote to make sure that you can't own a gun. So, like, you can't have New York or California say, we won't allow anyone on our borders to purchase firearms. They can't do that, right? They can't violate the Second Amendment.
Problem with what you're
hold
saying.
on, if I may finish. The same holds true for things like speech. What flag burning is currently, and I think it should be, it is covered under the First Amendment. So, no, Texas could not and should not be able to stop someone and ban someone from freedom of expression and freedom of speech. Why am I wrong?
Because it's factually not true. Speech is covered underneath the First Amendment. What happened is in 1989, a Supreme Court justice majority decided that there was going to be special exceptions made for flag burning specifically. They said that flag burning itself is a form of special speech. And this special speech should be protected because it's so fucking important. Now, the difference between what you're talking about and art is that there isn't a state on the planet where there's not some kind of form of art. And when you go and you make art, you're not actually like doing anything that the entire state could justify telling you not to do. Do you understand that there are laws that are specific to states, right? That if I'm in New Jersey and I'm smoking weed and I come to Texas, I can't go, well, I was in New Jersey, it's legal for me to do that. I should be able to do that here, right? I mean,
Sure,
you may
because you
make that
don't have a
argument.
constitutional amendment that protects your right to smoke weed.
You don't have a
However, you
constitutional.
do.
You have a Supreme Court case that infers
What do
that
you
there
think
is
the Supreme Court does? What is its job?
its job is to interpret, or actually its
Interpret
job
the
is
what?
to judge.
Interpret the
It's
what?
to judge whether or not the interpretation of the law counts in a certain case. So it's applying the Constitution to the law. Now, if you were to, let me ask you a question right now. If we were to put this case up for trial right now in the Supreme Court, do you think we would or would not have a special exception in the rule for flag burning?
So, yes, I think that even Alito, one of the most conservative people on the Supreme Court, has upheld the right to burn flags. There isn't just one case when it deals with free speech. We have case law after case law after case law on the Supreme Court level that deals with free speech,
Why
and it has
is it
progressively. Hold on,
only
let me finish my
burning
answer.
flags?
Hold on, let me finish my answer. It has progressively, over the years, right, become more and more protective of people's right to freedom of choice, not freedom of choice, freedom of expression, and freedom of speech, right? We have what's called the Brandenburg test, okay? The Brandenburg test to determine whether or not speech is protected or unprotected. And flag burning does not pass the Brandenburg test. So what the Brandenburg test is it's a test to see whether or not that a law can be made in order to restrict someone's right to speak, or if someone can be criminally held liable or by the government to for whatever speech that they did. So there are two main factors to the Brandenburg test. I'm not a lawyer. Keep that in mind. First factor, is it imminent? Okay, is it something that will is likely to happen like soon? Is there a timetable on here? And the second, is it likely to lead to actual violence? So you can say all sorts of crazy stuff. You could do all sorts of crazy stuff that is pretty hateful, but it isn't imminent and isn't likely to actually result in violence. Flag burning, okay? Burning the flag does not fail, or it does not pass that test, right? It's not likely to lead to violence. It's not likely to lead to inciting violence, right? So if you call for someone to, like, I want to kill all the Jews, you can say that. It's protected speech. But what you can't say is, on Monday, I want us to go get our guns and I want to go and attack that synagogue. That's not protected speech. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it's not the same thing at all. It's not even close to the same.
Yes, one is illegal, one is legal. Burning the flag is legal because it doesn't pass that test.
Well, no, the only reason burning the flag is legal is because of an 1989 court case. It was illegal before then. So, I mean, once again, we can go, if we're going to use precedents, we can just go to before 1989 and we can go, okay, well, everybody certainly agreed that burning the flag should be illegal back then, and every second of the history of the country, they were in agreement that was perfectly okay. But in 1989, after the hippies started burning flags constantly, and the leftists didn't want their hippie friends to go to jail for flag burning, and one of the hippies decided to go in front of a Ronald Reagan convention and burn another flag, they were like, oh man, all these hippies are going to jail for flag burning. Let's just make it speech. It has nothing to do with speech, but that's what we're going to do.
Go ahead, Chris.
My only point, just for factual clarification, just so we're all on the same page, audience and participants. Yes. So the case we're talking about is Texas v. Johnson in 1989. Prior to that, we do have some cases. Like in 1907, there was a Supreme Court decision that upheld a state statute that banned putting American flags on merchandise like beer bottles. And then in the 60s, there was the Flag Desecration Act in response to anti-Vietnam protests. 1989, the very controversial 5-4 decision is what we're sort of fighting over. And as both of you have said, this is a sort of
What were
break
the
from
fives?
precedent in the sense that 48 of the 50 states at the time of Texas v. Johnson had anti-flag burning or anti-flag desecration laws, and there was an act of Congress as well. So,
okay, so no, yes,
Inconvenient.
that's true. However, the Constitution is a living document, and interpretations do change, and we do have more than just the 10 amendments. We have amendments that we've added since then for various reasons, because we've decided that these should be in the Constitution. But when it comes to interpretation of law, I think that this decision in 1989 was a good decision in that it has led to good outcomes. I think it is important. I think the way that they were interpreting it before, the justification that they were using before, was poor case law, in my opinion. And I think that, again, protecting flag burning means I can burn, if I wanted, I could burn the Russian flag. What is the difference?
There's only one flag I don't want you to burn, man. You can burn whatever flags you want.
That's
just
a problem,
one.
though.
Actually, 2. In Texas, I don't want you to burn 2. But hey, here's the thing. This is another thing that I want to talk about. You're burning.
No, hold
the
on.
flag,
Before we
right?
get in,
Can I
before we
go
get in,
and
hold
put
on.
out the flag?
Before we get into that,
Can I go put out the flag, or is it impinging on your speech?
Is it your flag or is it my flag?
What does it matter? My speech is putting out your flag.
Because you can't do
burning flag.
If I burn my you can't stop me from using my property as I will, right? If I want to use my mattress, right, to jump on it, you can't come and take it away.
Set
because
my
you
own
don't let me
house on
jump on it.
fire.
Huh?
I can set my own house on fire.
Generally not, because you're endangering others.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah. So
But hold on. Yeah, hold on.
So
That's
if I'm
beside
lighting
the point, though.
something
Burning an
on
American
fire in the
flag
middle
doesn't
of a crowd,
endanger
that's not
others.
very-
No one's who's been injured.
setting a fire in the middle of a crowd doesn't endanger others. I've literally watched
We
somebody
could set
walk
off
up
fireworks in a crowd, and that's
burn
fine.
themselves with a burning flag before. It's one of those meme reels. Look at this idiot setting himself on fire, burning the flag.
Yeah, but we don't. You can injure yourself riding a bike, driving a car, doing all sorts of things that we allow to be done.
How do you
The
injure
importance-
yourself
if I may,
speaking?
you can.
Is there any way to injure yourself
yes,
speaking?
you can lose your voice. You can. I have spoken for so
You
long that I
speak
coughed
so
up
much
blood.
that you can't speak no more, man.
Yes.
You use that right so
Hold
much
on.
that you can't use
But
it
here's
anymore.
the thing. The
Fair enough. Let's
protection-
stop
l-
speaking.
Hold on, stop. The protection of me being able to burn the American flag also protects your right to burn the Russian flag. And if you weaken one, you necessarily will weaken
I don't
the other.
think in Russia I should be able to burn the Russian flag. And if I go to Russia and I set a Russian flag on fire, those motherfuckers have the right to kill me.
Yeah,
It's that
makes
simple.
Russia. That's one of the reasons.
So,
one of the many reasons Russia is a worse place to live and less free.
If
yeah.
I go to your country and I set your flag on fire, you have the right to kill me, in my personal opinion. It's
What?
just, yeah.
So
Yeah,
you
why
think you
would
should
you
be
go
able
to
to kill
somebody else?
someone? Hold on. You think you should be able to kill someone who's burning the American flag?
Not in America. No, we have free speech, and we've told our people that it's free speech.
Hold on. You just said that you think if you go to someone's country and you burn their flag, they should be able to kill you. Why is that not applying to ours?
Because we're more civilized than them.
Do we want to remain so?
I don't care whether or not other countries are more civilized than me. I don't think that it's okay for us to be acting like animals, but if I go to an animal's country, if I go to Russia and Russia kills me.
So the only reason you don't shoot people who burn the flag is because there's a law against it.
No, I don't think I would. I would stop them.
You would think it's wrong. It's just generally morally wrong.
I think let's put it this
Yeah?
way. Just like any law, I think that there should be people that if it's illegal to do that, to stop you from doing that. What happens in the course of that stopping you?
So there's no limits on that? Any and all means necessary to stop someone from
I
burning a
think
flag
that's-
is okay? It's on the line?
I think there are justifiable means. Like if somebody's selling cigarettes, they probably shouldn't die.
But you're okay with them stopping someone from burning the flag and in the process of stopping them killing them.
If you beat them up a little bit, I wouldn't cry too much about it.
If you beat
I'm
them
not
up a
gonna lie.
little bit.
I mean,
okay.
just drop an elbow while you're putting out the fire. Just
I just gotta ask.
And
Do
I-
you
I'm
believe
stopping
in?
out the fire.
Do you believe do you base your morality based on what is legal or illegal at the time?
No.
No. Okay. So you recognize that there are laws that you think are bad, that shouldn't exist, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Some laws are bad.
Some laws are bad, shouldn't exist. We should probably get away with them. So the laws, right? Just
No.
because something is a law, legal
If-
or illegal, doesn't mean it's something that we should keep around or something that we should ditch necessarily. It's your morality is separate from that, correct?
Right. Just like
Correct.
I
Okay.
think that the precedents that was created by the Supreme Court should be overturned. Changing the law.
Sure. Again,
Could I ask a quick
disagree.
question
ahead.
to clarify? I apologize first. My internet, I'm not hardwired in yet.
You're awesome.
My cable broke in transit, so I'm stuttering, but I can hear you all perfectly. Hopefully, you can hear me even if my video is stuttering. A question for Whick on Hardcore is asking. So the idea of potential harm or harm to others, would you think acceptable under your understanding of current Supreme Court precedent, sort of law of general applicability that says lighting things on fire in public places generally not okay, right? So not a specific prohibition on flag burning, but just, in such and such a size of crowd, we're not going to let you light fires because that seems dangerous. Is that a sort of law that you think would pass the smell test?
No, and I'll tell you why, right? I can think of a lot of reasons. No, I can think of a lot of reasons you'd want to allow people to set something on fire. Obviously, that within reason. Like, I wouldn't want you to be able to light a whole fucking house on fire, or things like that. However, a flag,
But it's
right, this
speech.
size.
I was really mad at the person, so I Molotov cocktailed their house.
Okay, their house. It becomes different when you're doing
I
something to your
Molotov
house.
cocktailed in front of their house. It just traveled over there. The fire hated them, so it went to murder them.
Hold on. Again, this is to answer Eucharist's questions. Then I'll deal with that. To answer Eucharist's question, it would depend. The devil would be in the details, and what I need to see it. But like, government tries to do this all the time. They make these sneaky laws that they intend to stop a certain action, but they don't necessarily name that action itself. They're just using this law in order to make it harder to do that action. That's why I'd be against that law in general, because it would be obviously intended to stop something that I feel is an important aspect of free speech and expression.
Hold on.
But hold on,
Do
to
you- hold on,
address
what-
you,
what-
to address your.
I-
Well, can I address the first thing you said before we get to the new thing you said?
No,
right?
I just didn't want to lose it. I want to ask you before you say your thing. You could follow up with my answer. Do you agree with the fire thing that like screaming fire in a crowded building is incitement of something?
No, because I think that we should be able to. If I believe that there is a fire in a crowded theater, I should be able to say that there's a fire in a crowded theater, and I not fear risk punishment.
But that's not illegal.
Yeah.
Saying if that's not illegal, it's the act of lying to people that there's a fire that becomes illegal.
You have to be able
the
to
incitement
prove
of
it's a
it,
lie.
right?
You have to be able to prove it's a lie and not just something that is.
This is a hypothetical scenario. I don't feel
well, it's not
like we need
hypothetical. It's something that we have case law for, right?
Okay, but you do agree that there has been instances where people have intentionally yelled fire in order to create a crowd to run out of the deal and has caused damage at some point.
And legally, if you can prove that, and it's a hard bar to prove, then we have a case. But here's the deal: is one of the things where I think that we need to have very strict procedures for determining that kind of thing, is because a lot of people are just wrong, and I am against punishing someone who earnestly believes something who simply happens to be wrong. So, for example, right? I think that there are a lot of people out there who are advocating for things that I feel are just wrong. They're incorrect. They're out of line. However,
Can we get an example?
Okay, sure. I had a white nationalist on yesterday. Okay, I don't know if you saw it, but he advocated for the dissolution of the United States of America. That's pretty bad, in my opinion. That's he advocated
That does
for racist,
sound like something they would say.
ethno-nationalist policies.
Is it one of Nikki's little losers?
Man, I forget his name off the top of my head.
One of these days, I'm gonna smack that dude in the face. Watch, I promise you this. One of these days, I'm gonna pop that dude in his fucking mouth. I promise you.
Violence is wrong. Like, that's a
It's
a
gonna
different
happen. No,
topic.
it's gonna happen. You're just gonna hear about it. You're gonna be like, "Oh, I heard Nick Fuentes got punched in the face. Who did it? Some other Mexican."
Totally different topic. But what
Yes.
I'm talking about, right, is this guy. I don't agree with anything he says. I don't like him. I think he's advocating for really bad things. But is he a liar? Is he lying about what he's saying? I don't know, right? If someone I'll give you a better example, perhaps. If someone honestly believes, right, in their heart of hearts, that Kamala Harris is going to take their guns, okay, it's going to violate their rights and come and take all their guns away, okay, they are like, we need to start arming ourselves. We need to start building the bunker. We need to start protecting ourselves against the state coming in to take our guns. I don't think that the government should stop them from saying that or call it incitement to violence and things like that, even though you can understand and we can make an argument that that kind of speech creates a very dangerous situation in America, right? You would agree with that?
Not necessarily.
You don't,
I don't think that
telling people that there is this group coming to violate your rights, to take away your freedoms, and the only thing you can do to stop that is arm yourselves. You don't think that makes things more dangerous?
The government to me. I mean, that sounds exactly like what the government
You
does.
believe that, right? You believe that. But
That
it does make things more dangerous. It creates a situation where there's a higher possibility that people are going to be hurt. You agree with that, right?
Yeah, but here's the weird thing about that.
Do you think that should be illegal? Oh, no, this is important. I want you to just answer yes or no. Do you think someone saying that should be illegal to say? If it's proven it's not true, if it's proven that the government's never going to try to do that, do you think they should be punished legislatively for saying that?
Speech should be illegal.
They're not just speaking. They're actively, like, handing out flyers about this. They're actively buying up guns. They're actively building a bunker.
None of those things you've mentioned was illegal. It's perfectly
legal.
Nor
should it be, correct?
Well, let me ask you a question. What does the flyer say?
It's just exactly what I had. The government's coming to take your guns and violate your rights, and you need to...
Here's the thing. If the local town decides that they don't want a bunch of Nazi flyers floating around their deal, they can go, okay, don't pass those out.
No, they can't.
Sure they can. You can't put porn up on... Yes, it's called obscenity laws. You can literally have people take stuff down. That's why you can't have porn on billboards.
Hold on. Do you think that the government, if someone is holding, is on their town square and they're handing out Nazi flyers, right?
If they're handing out things that say like
it has a swastika on it, the Jews, whatever
are in there, whatever.
You think that the government can arrest that person?
I could see that violating obscenity laws. I don't think you should be able to do that, but I could see people doing that. And I wouldn't be mad at them because guess what? If you're living in Mayberry, you don't want 60 white nationalists coming into your neighborhood and plastering your entire town with Nazi paraphernalia. And if you have that problem and somebody goes, okay, well, we don't want your Nazi paraphernalia all over our walls, you can't have some other guy go, well, actually, it's like, okay, man, you're not speaking anymore. You're covering a town in bullshit.
So what about pride flags? Do you think that a Muslim community in Dearborn, Michigan should be able to ban the distribution of pride flags, the painting and hanging of pride flags? They consider it obscenity. Do you think that they should be able to ban that?
Here's a question I have for you, and this is
Can you answer my question before we get to yours?
I, personally, if you own a pride flag and you live in Dearborn, Michigan, no, man, I don't think they should be able to tell you not to have your pride flag. Here's the deal, though. The laws, hold on, this is important, and let me get this out. Because the laws protecting the Nazis being able to hand out their little flyers, they also protect the LGBT community from being able to put up pride flags and do these things. We're not talking about Nazi flags, we're talking about flyers. Now, should a gay person be allowed to pass out flyers in Dearborn, Michigan? I don't think that would be the safest thing on the planet. Do you
think they should be arrested for doing so?
But, no, not arrested. Maybe get a fine or something. Or
you think they should be fined for passing out flyers about it's okay to be gay in Dearborn, Michigan?
If they pass a law, yes.
Can I follow up on a question Whick asked earlier, because I didn't hear a direct response to this, and I'd be curious, hardcore, what your thoughts are. I take Whick's fundamental defense of free speech and free expression and action in this case to be something of not slippery slope sounds bad because that's a fallacy, but sort of a argument from logical extremes. Is that the fact that we generally protect things that even the judges who decided this case that allowed flag burning think is distasteful protects your right to do things that other people might find distasteful. So do you have any response, I guess, to this idea that, well, if we ban this because it's so shocking against our sacred symbol, well, down the road, that sort of political power could be used against you when you hold a political position that is offensive towards other sacred symbols? Do you have any responses to that side of the argument?
I think it's a very valid argument. If you have a machete and you start swinging around, you could easily cut yourself. But the argument that there is an inherent good, and there's a couple of big problems I have with the entire argument. One was the states' rights issue. I don't think it's the federal government's job to decide that in Texas it has to be legal to burn the flag, and if California, it has to be not legal to burn the flag. If California wants to make flag burning legal, certainly fine. If Texas wants to make flag burning illegal, certainly fine. Now, my problem with the entire thing, though, is first of all, the entire thing was decided through a court case where some guy made up a completely fictional concept in order to justify leftist burning things.
What was that fictional concept?
Well, it's what was it, special speech or something? I forgot what the name of the term was, but it was like a literal like thing that he created out of nothing for what flag burning is.
I promise you, he did not create that. We've had treatises on free speech and freedom of expression since John Stuart Mill, and probably even before that, right? To the ancient Greeks and things like that. So this concept that he put together was not invented.
Well, I think this is just my personal opinion on the matter, is that if a large enough group of people decides something, their opinion should be somewhat respected in a free society, and that the individual should not be able to tyrant the group the way that most liberals believe that they should.
But again,
I
do you
don't
think if all of Dearborn, Michigan voted to make being gay illegal, do you think that should be
That's not the
allowed
right
to
to do that.
happen?
They don't have the right to do that. They do have
Yes,
the right to.
yes. So
They
you
do have the
acknowledge
right-
that there are certain conditions, there are certain things that even the majority, even if every single person
Yeah.
in America wanted it to happen, right, should not be allowed to happen.
Right, and if it was speaking, like I told you before, the flags, that's one thing. Your art,
What about
that's
being
not,
gay is speaking? I'm talking again. I asked you
How would
directly.
you know if?
Do
How
think
would you know if somebody was gay?
sodomy
if they
laws?
didn't
You watched.
do anything?
You looked in the window one night and you saw them porking
So
their
you're
brother.
creeping on. You're
Not their
creeping
brother.
on
Okay,
them.
sorry, not their
You're
brother.
violating their
Porking their
privacy
buddy.
rights in order to find out that they're gay, and then you're going to
You
prosecute.
didn't
them under
violate it. You just
sodomy laws?
happened to. You just happened. Maybe they made a sex tape and accidentally leaked it to you. You didn't violate it in this hypothetical.
Well, once
But
again,
again, the idea is:
it's
do you think
still
that?
speech. If I make a video, like that would be your version of speech, and then it gets leaked to somebody else.
Yes.
I mean, that's illegal. That's super duper illegal.
Let's
but,
make a
I
video
mean-
about having gay sex. It's not
But
illegal. I
I
promise
wouldn't
you.
know if you didn't make the video. Like, there's no real way to know somebody's gay unless
They say
tell you
I'm
they're
gay, and they kiss their boyfriend.
Okay, then what are you
Pretty
making
good
illegal?
sign that they're probably gay, right?
Then? What are you making illegal then?
My question is, because you stated that you think that if the majority decides a thing, that it should just be so. When I asked you these questions, such as, do you think it should be allowed for the state of, for the city of Dearborn, Michigan, to make something illegal when it comes to being gay, or if Texas made it illegal for black people to vote? You say, of course not. It would violate their fundamental rights that are protected in the Constitution. And so you understand that there are certain things that even if the state wants to do, they cannot and should not, regardless of the current law, they should not be able to stop the individual from exercising their individual right to be a certain way, to express certain beliefs, to say certain things, and to do other things like that. So
I do not
you
believe
always,
that there should be
let
a
me finish.
single
You
law.
acknowledge that there are restrictions on democracy, and should be so.
Yeah, of course. We
Okay.
don't live in a
My
democracy.
argument is that free speech, flag burning specifically, and freedom of expression in general is one of those things that shall not be infringed upon by the states. I think if the state does that, and to the extent that the states do, that is wrong and it should be overturned. Because I think free speech makes free people. The ability to express, to be offensive, to go against the orthodoxy is beneficial to people, not just from a moral sense, but from a pragmatic sense, because we do not know what is true. We believe what is true. And if we make it illegal to express doubt or rancor or hatred even towards the orthodoxy, towards the country, then we are keeping ourselves from being able to find truth. That's the core of my argument.
Okay.
Can I, for a point of clarification that I think might help move this in a positive direction, because one thing we keep bumping up against is this distinction perhaps between speech, literal words that I'm saying. So it sounds like both of you agree, if I'm standing on Speaker's Corner and I'm saying offensive things, that should be protected. Well, if we're under American jurisprudence, at least not necessarily Speaker's Corner in the UK. But there's a distinction that you all are fighting about between acts or even symbols as speech. And so I just wanted to clarify just a couple other just factual things and then see if we can make some ground on this. That, prior to this case, the Supreme Court has recognized that speech encompasses things that we might call, on the one hand, like symbolic speech, and on the other hand, things like expressive conduct. So, for example, Strom versus California in 1931, someone had been convicted under a California law that banned the display of a red flag. It was an anti-communism law. And a youth worker in a camp had displayed a red flag and was convicted under this law. The Supreme Court said that's an unconstitutional law. You're prohibiting the student's right to express political speech symbolized in the flag. The Supreme Court has clarified Smith versus Washington, 1974, that there's a variety of conduct that could fall under this label of expressive conduct or perhaps symbolic speech in certain cases. And so there's a sort of test, right, that expressive conduct has to be of a certain kind or quality that is intended to convey a certain message. And of course, I think what Whick's arguing is that my burning of the flag, as you say, as a lefty protester, for example, that's intended to convey F America or whatever, right? That is expressive conduct. So to hardcore, is that do you just kind of want to do away with that whole tradition whatsoever? Do you want to limit it to just speech acts and say there's no such thing as symbolic speech, no such thing as expressive conduct? And then to Whick, do you see any limits possibly on expressive conduct or symbolic speech that aren't there on the literal words that you're saying? So questions to both.
Do you want to go first or should I answer first?
I'll go first, but I want to do a follow-up on what you said before. First thing is do you consider lies to be part of free speech?
Yes.
Good to know. All right, going back to what he just said, that is exactly what I meant. I think symbolic speech is a stupid concept. I think it's literally just pulling things out of nowhere and being like, we're going to throw these things into this pile and we're going to call them speech so they could be protected by the First Amendment because they're symbolic. Symbolic. We're symbolizing speech by setting shit on fire. Now, here's the other thing I really wonder about. Because you're saying lies are free speech. Why is it that it would be illegal for me to slander or libel you if lies are free speech?
Not a lawyer. But as I understand it, SLAPP laws, like slander, libel, etc., they have very high bars that you have to clear in order to do that, right?
Only here. Everywhere else, it's basically you just lie on somebody. Like if you went to the UK right now and I was to lie about anything about you, you can sue me.
I don't want to live in those third world shitholes, to be clear. I think that they are worse off.
I think that actually have a problem with strengthening libel laws.
But I do.
Why?
Because what libel laws protect the powerful. They protect the people with lawyers and money. They protect...
How?
Because if you can convince a court, for example... So I'll give you an example. Trump sued Bill Maher over libel and slander because on his show, Bill Maher compared Trump to an orangutan. Okay.
Trump just lost a slander case for saying he didn't rape somebody.
Yes. Because what he was also saying in that case was that person is lying.
Is that he didn't
about
rape
me.
somebody?
He's saying,
In
and
pending
the person
appeals?
saying that they raped me is lying. And he lost that case because
Yeah,
the
he was
evidence
saying he
suggested
got-
that he did. But that's beside the point. The reason
her
that
testimony suggested that he did.
that we don't want to weaken libel laws, slap laws, is because it prevents us from, because the powerful
strengthening
will
those.
use those laws in order to silence dissent. Not just lies, but anything that they can convince the court is a quote-unquote lie. And that's why these laws are dangerous. And this is why we need to have very, very high bars for these things. Part of the problem with any kind of censorship law, such as slap laws and things like that, is they are often misused by the powerful against the weak. Like the biggest victims of censorship throughout history have been minorities, have been black people, communists, LGBT people. They have been censored far more than I have. What are you talking about? When we look at like fucking
I was
things
making
like,
fun of you. I was making fun of you because you said communist, and I was like, oh no,
yeah,
not
communists have been
Let's
victims
not
of
censor commies.
censorship.
Let's not
Communists
censor
have
commies.
been tradition. We shouldn't censor communists. We shouldn't
We should
censor
censor-
anyone.
We shouldn't censor any idea that isn't offensive to children.
We shouldn't censor any idea. Period.
I don't think that kids should have access to porn, bud.
That's not
I'm
an
sorry.
idea. Porn isn't an idea. Okay. I also think that children don't have the same rights as an adult. I think that children grow into their rights. I think that the Supreme Court has ruled.
Well, hold on. Wait. You don't think that the whole nebulous world around sexuality isn't an idea? I'm not saying it's just purely a concept. I'm saying that it doesn't fall into the
So I'll tell you the
realm of
difference.
things you don't want kids to
Because this
know
will
about,
answer
like
you. This
kids
will
getting
answer
porn.
you, Chris. This will answer you, Chris, questions too on if I have any limits. I do actually have some limits on these things. I'm not an absolutist. I'm very close, but I'm not quite there. So the limits I have, and this will answer that question too, is I think that showing pornography to children is off limits. This should not be okay. However, if you want to advocate that you should be able to do that and have that idea, I don't think you should be arrested for advocating for that. Do you understand the difference?
Yeah, no, I certainly wouldn't want those people not to be able to expose themselves for what they believe. I would never want them to.
That's another benefit of allowing people to speak and not
But
having.
that's once again
censorious
speech.
laws.
I want you to be able to speak.
Okay, when it comes to expression, this isn't speech. However, it is communicating a message. When I hang this flag on this wall, I am communicating to you and my audience a message, right? That, by definition, in my opinion, is important to protect. It is important to protect the ability to send a message using symbolism, using
What if your flag has a
art,
big old cock on it?
Then I don't think it should be appropriate for children. But I think I should be allowed to show it.
That's your free
on...
speech. You should have a big old fucking be able
Again,
to have the big
I
old
think
cock
there are
flag.
limits when it comes to kids. There are limits
Well,
when it
once
comes
again, if there's-
specifically to kids because kids are not adults
I
and we treat them
agree.
differently.
I agree.
But when it comes to
here it
consenting
is
adults, let me
conceptually.
ask you this. Let me ask you this, sir. Who do you want to be able to tell you what you can and cannot listen to? What voices, what podcasts, what people you can and cannot listen to? Can you tell me who you would like to put in charge to be able to tell you what podcasts you are and are not allowed to listen to?
No one? I don't know. Apple?
Yes, no one. But that's what censorship
Spotify?
is. That's what censorship is. I don't want anyone to be able to tell me.
Curating stuff on a platform is censorship? Like
Yes.
if I don't want to, if Spotify doesn't want to, like if let's say tomorrow I hook up with Nikki Fuentes and we do the Butt Buddy podcast, and we have just the stupidest, most lame, ridiculous takes all day, and then Spotify goes, I don't really want the Butt Buddy podcast. I think that's kind of a screwed up name, and I think Nick Fuentes is kind of a degenerate pervert. Why would I want you on my platform? And then Wick's over here like, that's censorship.
It is censorship, but it is.
They don't want to have the
hold
Butt
on,
Buddy
because this
podcast.
is important. It is a form of censorship, but it is not protected under the First Amendment, because one of the things that is protected under the First Amendment is the individual or the corporation's ability to say, I don't want this. I don't want to be, freedom of association is the term. I don't want to be associated with this. I don't want to promote this. I don't have to say this, right? Because one of the things the First Amendment protects is you cannot be compelled to speak. You cannot be compelled to say things that you don't actually believe. That's why you don't have to pledge allegiance to the flag and things like that. It's not illegal to refuse to stand for the national anthem, right? Because you cannot be compelled to say certain things and to do certain things. When it comes to whether that should be criminal, obviously it shouldn't. But when we talk about censorship as a concept, yeah, it is a form of censorship. I think that when you are deciding, when you block someone on Twitter, that is a form of censorship. Not all forms of censorship are bad. I'm not against every form of censorship. There's some certain form of censorship that I think it's important to give into the individual's hands. I think people. I think people should have the ability, right, as an individual, to choose what they can or cannot listen to. If I don't want to associate with someone who burns a flag, if I want to say I don't like you, I don't want to hang out with you, I don't want anything to do with you, I don't want to buy your stuff, I don't want to listen to your podcast anymore because you burned that flag, that's my right. That's my right as red-blooded American. But what should not happen is the government should not be able to use force and imprison or fine someone for burning that flag. Because when they do that, what they are saying is that, hey, whether you want to or not, you cannot watch anyone burn that flag.
Okay.
What if people want to? Why should the government get in between the people and what they want?
Well, let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
What is the argument that you would make? Because right now, your argument is that the sheer fact that people may want to see a flag get burned is justification enough to call it speech. How does this not relate to any kind of censorship as far as just like, I'm sure somebody wants to watch child porn. I'm sure somebody wants to watch people get murdered. I'm sure people want to watch, all sorts of degenerate crap. But if somebody decides it should be illegal, I mean, child porn's a great example. Your argument right now, you would be pro child porn because you're sitting here saying,
don't tell me what I am and not. Hold on. Do not tell me what I am and am not for. As I said earlier, I'm not an absolutist. There are limits, and I think that child pornography is one of those limits because for very few reasons.
Right.
Because, hold on, because this is important, because I have several values that I hold simultaneously, right? And when making a decision, when those values come into conflict, right? When, oh man, I really value free speech, but I also really value protecting children, I make a judgment on which one is more important in this context and in this time. And for my morality and for my purposes, I think it is more important to protect children from child pornography, from being exploited in that manner, etc. There's a lot of dangers to it than I am for free speech. But when it comes to flag burning, I make a different calculation. Even though I do value my country and I love my country, hold on. Because even though I value my country and I love my country, I think the ability for people to express themselves and their disdain for the country is far more important than that value. That's how I make decisions. That's how most people make decisions. And I can back up my decision in both cases. Why allowing child pornography makes society worse, but allowing flag burning makes society better.
You've yet to do the how does it make society better? You just kind of said, I really want people to be able to burn a flag, and I consider it speech. You didn't really say how much.
Well, allow me to elaborate then. I think I've said this before. No, you said it. I haven't said that, so you got to let me actually explain why this is better.
Well, let me finish what I was going to say before you do. Okay.
Yeah, I can hardcore finish this. I think, Whick, I'll put a pin in this. I want you to explain how it absolutely positively makes it better, but I think let's just throw that out and he has more to say.
So. Going back to what I was saying about the child porn, I don't think you like child porn, but I'm saying is that your opinion and this guy over here's opinion are the exact same. Okay. And if what you're applying your principles, if he was to apply your principles to the stuff that he believes, he can make the exact same justification. That's what I'm telling you, is that your argument is the difference between the way that me and you believe is that your threshold is right here. And you're saying, okay, We shouldn't show porn to kids. Child porn is whatever. You probably shouldn't, cuss in certain situations and blah, 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 blah.
No, don't
I don't know
stop,
where your
stop.
lines are.
Don't start telling me things I believe. I think you should be able to cuss
I don't know
in
what
all
your line-
situations.
Okay,
I'm
fine.
specifically
Whatever. At your
specifically
grandma's
against
house?
child pornography.
Are
Okay?
you screaming obscenities in the middle of a nursing home, man?
In a private, the nursing home has a right to kick you out.
What
But
does
if
it
you
matter
want
if
to go
it's
on the
private or not?
street,
It's a respect
if you
thing.
want to go,
shouldn't
if I
do
wanted
that.
to go on the street and start singing slurs, okay? If I wanted to go in the middle of Times Square and start singing the N-word over and over again, okay? That's protected speech. I think I should be allowed to do that.
I agree with you. Now, should you be able to whip out your dick?
No.
Okay, so there is a difference. What if you say that whipping out your dick
But
is
you should be able to
symbolic
burn
speech?
your flag.
You should
Okay,
be
Wick, I
able
want you to go back to the positive
Yeah,
thing. The
finish. I
positive
want to hear.
argument. How
Yeah,
does
go back.
this
Go back.
positively improve society to allow this freedom to express yourself in this particular way, burning a flag?
Because the laws that we make in order to protect people from having an expression about the country, right, by burning a flag, by burning their own property. I'm not talking about other people's flags or state flags. I'm talking specifically about your own flag that you buy. If I wanted to go in the street and burn this flag specifically, I think that should be allowed as an expression, because I think that when we try to make laws blocking this from happening, what it does is it chills speech. So, for example, if, right, the country is broken, is bad, it's something that I think that I can prove, and I don't believe this, by the way, but hypothetically, in the future, if it came to a point where I think the country is going to be a Nazi country, and I wanted to wake people up to that fact, hey, it's a Nazi country, America's destroying everything, by doing a powerful offensive act in order to get people's attention and draw people's attention to that fact, such as flag burning, and there are other expressions that could do that as well, but flag burning is an important one. It's very symbolic. That should be allowed, because there may come a time, there may come a day when we need to be able to send such a powerful message, and I want as little obstacles to this as possible, because any obstacle we make towards flag burning and other such offensive speech, right, what it does is it is often used by the powerful to silence the voices of the least powerful. So again, it starts at flag burning, but then you're like, well, also you can't desecrate the flag. Like, you can't wear flag bikinis. You can't, I don't know here, you can't fly it upside down. You can't violate the flag code in any way. It's a slippery slope. And you ask, oh, well, it's not slippery. It absolutely is. And we've seen this happen over and over throughout history. So again, flag burning specifically is important because we need to be able to express in a powerful message, right? Send a powerful message, not only to the government, but to the people around us, that, hey, the country's on fire. It's not all right. And I think that the pros of that much outweigh the benefits. Does that make sense? Do you accept
Can I
that?
use this argument against him?
You're always free to do that.
All right, buddy. Let's use the old slippery slope argument. So, in theory, considering that you've already put this out here, that, not being able to burn the flag might bring us down this slippery slope where the elitists censor out poor people who want to burn flags. Okay.
Well, can you not see that happening?
No, I don't care if that happens, because I don't want anybody to burn the flag. Let me point out what I'm saying, though, is that on the other way,
it's not just burning the flag. They censor from any kind of criticism of the government.
What are we adding to the symbolic speech? Symbolic speech could be anything. It's symbolic.
How many words are a picture worth?
Zero.
How many words is a picture worth?
It's zero.
No, it's 1,000 words. A picture's worth 1,000 words. That's the expression. You know the expression.
Did you count them?
Right?
Did you
We
count
understand that pictures, images.
My
You said
pictures
you
are worth
hold on.
a
You said
million words.
you did
A
photography,
million words.
correct? You
Yeah,
said you
they're
made
worth a million
photography.
words.
You do that
A
to
million.
communicate things, right?
What?
All right, one at a time, people. One at a time.
Million.
I have to moderate sometimes. One at a time. Let Wick do his picture
Okay.
thing, and then
Yes.
we can.
A picture is worth 1,000 words, and the reason why symbolic expression is important to be protected is because sometimes images, actions, art can communicate in ways, music, for example, can communicate in ways that words simply cannot. And I think that by limiting us to simply only protecting words, we're limiting a vast array of methods of communication to the public and to others that should be protected.
Is this what
So,
they call a
let me
motte and
clarify.
Bailey?
I don't think so.
No.
Well, let me clarify
pretty
really
sure
quickly. I may have muddied the waters a bit with the language. I wanted to be clear that what I was, there are two different categories at play here, right? There is the symbolic speech, but then there are expressive acts, which specifically is what flag burning is considered. As again, not a lawyer. I just play one sometimes when I do some con law stuff, but like expressive acts are a speech act legally that are protected in some ways. Symbolic speech is one thing, so flying a flag is one thing, and expressive action would be doing something like burning a flag. I really to clarify something, or maybe to press you a little bit, Wick, and then I hear Hardcore's response to this as well. I'm curious to hear you engage directly with one argument that comes up in the 1989 decision, the Texas v. Johnson decision by one of the dissenting justices. And again, to be clear, this is a 5-4 decision. That's a very narrow decision, right? It's only by one vote. Both court cases that matter, and the subsequent one, 1990s United States v. Eichmann, also a 5-4 decision. Very narrow rulings in both cases. Justice John Paul Stevens, in his dissent, effectively says there's sort of a paradox at the heart of the ruling that the majority makes, which is that they are saying that something about America cool that we have rights and liberties and things like free speech. And that free speech means that we have a constitution that protects our free speech. But that free speech protection under our constitution also seemingly paradoxically makes it so that our United States government or the states themselves cannot protect the foremost symbol of those freedoms. Right? The states and the government can't in any way stop the desecration of the symbol of those very things we protect. And so the majority seems to think, actually, we make that symbol even more powerful by allowing people to burn it. And he says, I don't think that's the case. And then he makes an analogy that I'm curious what you would think of, Wick. He makes an analogy in the idea of expanding the realm of free speech. He says, well, what we're doing here in this case to allow people to include free speech, flag burning in free speech, excuse me, would be equivalent to, let's say, allowing people to tack up billboards on the Washington Monument. It might enlarge the market for free expression, he says, this is a quote, but at a cost I would not pay. So I'm curious about your thoughts on that. It does seem to me like you're making a sort of cost-benefit harm
Sure.
freedom argument. The certain threshold that it's too much harm, it's a cost you're not willing to pay. How do you wrestle with that? And then Hardcore, I'm curious about your thoughts.
Well, I think that there are very easy ways to prevent people from hanging billboards on other people's property or public property, such as the Washington Monument and other symbols, things like that. Like the White House, we can't go and hang signs on the White House. But what you can do, right, and people have done, are those little projector screens where you project messages onto other people's property. I don't think they've done this to the White House, but they did it to like universities and things like that. I think that should be protected speech. Again, it depends. Are you trying to keep people up? Like there should be like noise limits and things like that. But when it comes to this idea that we are expanding the realm of free speech, so we're going to protect things that will lead to people putting billboards on the Washington Monument, I think that you have the right to your own property and your own space. So while I can't and should not be able to put a shirt saying I love weed and hookers on you, I shouldn't be able to force you to wear that. You should not be able to force me to take that off. Does that make sense? Because I am expressing something in my space, and I think that if it's my flag, I can do what the fuck I want with it. And if I want to burn it, by God, the Constitution should protect my right to do so. Does that address the point? Do you understand?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think to be clear on the billboard thing, I don't think that Justice Stevens was saying that this decision means that's a thing that must be allowed. He's saying, well, suppose someone put forward the argument that, well, in any public space like the Washington Monument, we should allow people to do this because that does enlarge freedom of expression. And he says, yes, it does in a way. It would give you more liberty of expression if you were allowed to put up whatever you want in the Washington Monument, but we have good reasons for not allowing you to do that. And so his argument, I think, by analogy, is in a similar test, technically, you are more free in your speech when you're allowed to burn a flag than not, but there are good reasons why we might want to stop you from doing that.
Okay, well, I would disagree on the reasons that.
Here's the other thing that I would say on the entire thing is it's, and I'm trying not to make this like a thing, but your argument really sounds like if you love your wife, you should let her fuck other people because otherwise you don't really love your wife. And it's just
What?
like, okay.
That
I mean,
doesn't.
it's really
Hold on.
no. I know. I'm
Square
saying
that circle for me. Draw me the line. How am
okay.
How is
Your
me
wife.
saying? Hold on. Let me finish this, and you can answer. How is me saying I should be allowed to burn my flag? Right? How is that saying I should? If I really love my wife, I should let her fuck other people.
Because you're
Draw that
expanding your
line.
relationship the same way that you expanded free speech.
Sir, I think you have lost the plot. I
He's
don't.
making me laugh
don't
so
even
much.
understand.
I don't follow. I'm
Yeah, what
sorry.
you're trying to
I'm
As a
say.
sorry.
moderator, I don't follow.
I'm laughing at him. I'm sorry. I'll explain myself. I'm sorry. Him busting out laughing made me laugh. All right. So, marriage is a vow between two people, and most people would consider somebody else sleeping with their wife desecration of that marriage and that vow and things like that. And for somebody to not want his wife to sleep around and say, "Well, no, this is a me and you thing," obviously that's
Do
screwed
you
up.
think
Whereas
poly?
if wait, let me finish what I'm saying. Whereas from her perspective, if she wants to go sleep with somebody else, her happiness would greatly increase if she goes ahead and defiles y'all's deal. So how is that not the same
Do
thing?
you think
You're
that
sitting
an
here
open
saying from a
relationship should
leftist
be illegal?
standpoint, your relationship with the government would be so much better if you burnt the flag. And I say that's not a part of the deal, bud.
No. What I am
That's not it.
saying
You know,
is
free
that you
speech
should
would be
not be
so much better if I could
arrested.
burn the flag.
Hold on. I don't think you should be arrested or fined for burning the flag.
Well,
Neither
how do you
should
stop
someone
somebody
who
from doing
steps out on their
something you don't
wife
do?
or
One at a time.
hold on.
One
Neither, right? Neither should someone who is a cuck and okay, hardcore. I don't think that you letting the neighborhood run a train on your wife should be illegal.
Yeah,
I don't think that the government should stop you from doing that. I don't think the government
no.
should be.
My point is,
Hold on,
in
let me
that
finish
regard,
this
the
analogy because
government is
I sat through
divorced.
your analogy. I'm going to finish mine. Okay, I don't think that you having the orgy happy hour where people take a number to take turns railing your wife over and over again in every single hole and orifice that she has in her body. I don't think the government should stop you from doing that.
That's just
I don't think the
terrible. That's
government
just
should
terrible.
stop that from happening. I don't think the government should make that illegal. I, sir, protect you against the government for you being able to let everyone, all and sundry, all of chat, anyone who follows and likes the stream, from being able to plow your wife. There we go.
I'm just going to register. I did not sign up for obscenity. Okay. I was here to discuss a different kind of obscenity,
Okay.
actually, which
So
is flag
goddamn
burning. Okay. Please respond, please.
Okay, so in that regard, the police aren't an issue. That would be a divorce. So obviously, if your wife was sleeping with somebody else, just any guy whatsoever, her increased happiness would be obvious because obviously anybody else would be better. But the thing is that you would have a right to divorce her at that point, whereas most times you would have to file some kind of,
I'm not going to
equal
get into
agreement.
no fault divorce.
No,
is
I'm
a
saying
thing.
you
I'm not
could.
going to get into
Well, I
arguments,
mean,
right?
if somebody cheated on, I'm not one no fault divorce either. But I mean, like when somebody cheats on you, you don't really have to pay them. Whereas if you're not cheated on and you decide to get a divorce, well, you do have to pay them. So it's obviously somebody
How does this relate to flag burning?
acknowledges it. My point is that there's an agreement between the two people. One person decided to defile it. Your argument is that your happiness and the happiness of leftists would be exponentially increased if you could burn flags.
That's
because
not
you
my
haven't really
argument
made
at
any
all
other.
about happiness.
What is the argument? You said it's a slippery slope if you don't. Like, you've
Do you
made
think
no
I care
argument
whether or
whatsoever
not
except
these
for
is
I
about
feel better
happiness?
because we can burn flags.
It's not about feelings.
Whereas I'm explaining to you that you could literally add anything to expressive speech. You could literally have punching somebody in the face. Man, I really hated him. Expressive speech right to the face. Anything could be expressive speech or symbolic speech. It's a complete and total slippery slope. Whereas I think mine is more likely than yours.
Okay. Well, we can
You
get
really
to
think-
closing statements
do you really
because I
think
don't
if-
think we
if
can go
tomorrow-
anywhere.
Yeah.
further.
It's gonna,
Well, let me ask you
we're going down the.
Do you honestly
Yeah,
think
ask
that
me a
if
question.
tomorrow we banned flag burning, that the world would
The
get
only time-
exponentially worse because of it?
The only slope that is more slippery is your wife's when I come to her chambers, okay? Her slope is super slippery then, okay?
Dude,
That's
you've
all I'm
never
saying.
even seen a
Yeah.
vagina. Nobody believes
All
you.
right. Okay.
let's
All
get to
right.
it.
All right. I think we've exhausted the analogy of the neighborhoods and wives and things. I want to, before you all go to closings, I have a quote I want to read you. And if you could possibly theme your closings around whether or not you agree with this statement, because I think this is the core disagreement. This is from the majority opinion, not of the one we were talking about, Texas v. Johnson, 1989, United States v. Eichmann, which strikes. So 1989, Texas v. Johnson, the Supreme Court says, actually, you can burn flags. Congress comes the same year and passes the Flag Protection Act of 1989. And then in 1990, United States v. Eichmann strikes that law down. So as Hardcore was saying, this was a democratic law as much as we get in the United States. Congress passed it. Supreme Court says no. And Justice William Brennan, says, quote, if there is a bedrock principle underlying the First Amendment, it is that the government may not prohibit the expression of an idea simply because society finds the idea itself offensive or disagreeable, end quote. So I would like you all to assess your agreement with that statement and how it applies to the issue at hand. And close. Whick started, so Hardcore, you're first.
Okay. I think that in the same regard as we have arson laws, we have obscenity laws, and we have censorship in certain situations, that there is an onus for people to understand that sometimes things are not speech. And whenever you apply burning things to the concept of speech, then you can literally add anything to it, including violence, as speech. The only thing you need is one goofy-ass leftist to get into a position of power, and bickety-boom, you're setting stuff on fire left and right. It's super easy. And no argument put forward in this entire debate has justified for a second why we should be able to set things on fire, specifically if they are our nation's symbol. Because there's no merit to it. Just like there's no merit me whipping my dick out in the middle of a fucking public square and saying, this is free speech. No, man. Sometimes you're just a pervert.
My turn.
That was a minute long. Whick, you're free to...
So, most of what you've said during this debate is just factually incorrect. It's not true. It's not true when it comes to current and existing case law. And also, it does not follow. It does not follow that if you protect someone's right to express themselves through burning a flag, that it also justifies violence. That is simply not true. There are many different obstacles and tests that we can use to exclude violence from the equation, but leave and protect expressions against your own property and against things that you do to yourself, self-flagellation and things like that. We burn things in public for a lot of reasons. Some religious, burning a pagan statue or something, burning a lighting a cigarette, grilling, having a barbecue. All these things are things where we have fires in public places and everyone's okay with it, right? It doesn't really put forth a threat to health or anything like that. And while whipping, and I'll close with this. So free speech is important because I think that it makes free people. You whipping your dick out may not have any merit because your dick has no merit. However, my dick has so much merit. And I will end with that. Thank you all for being here.
Well, we managed to keep at least like 60% of the substantive. So,
what a great closing
I
argument, man. I will give you that. Great closing argument. Your dick may not have any merit, but my dick has merit.
Just saying. Okay, well, thanks, guys.
Out of
for being
context,
here.
that's a very effective quote.
Eucharist.
Well, thanks for letting me moderate. Maybe I should have moderated harder, and we would not have ended up down that rabbit hole. But,
hey, good TV. Good TV. That's
I'll
just
talk
good
to you.
TV.
I'll talk to you guys later. I'm gonna move you out. Bye-bye.
Later.
Bye.
Holy shit balls, gang. Okay. Did you guys like it? Should I do more debates? Should I have more talks like that? That was something. I hope you all enjoyed it. Gang. Let's read some of these super chats you guys have sent in. You've been so kind as to pay me some money. $20 from Lawson Harrison to say, I'd like to point out that under the flag desecration under Title 18, Section 700, blue, red line, and any artistic alterations to the flag would qualify as desecration. Also, flag code only applies to government displayed flags. True. Thank you for the $20. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you had fun. If anyone wants to challenge me to anything, my DMs are open. Play the clip I sent you, mofo. You want me to play that right now? I mean, how long is the clip? I didn't even look. Let me look. How long? Oh, it doesn't have a time. I don't... Maybe later. Maybe later, buddy. I'll tweet it out if I like it. Gang, I love you all, and I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, we are going to be talking, having an all-veterans panel about the accusations against Tim Walz, whether or not he has engaged in stolen valor. So please tune in. If you enjoyed the stream, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys later. Who's streaming right now? Who can we raid into? Who can we go to? Oh, let's go to Counterpoints. Let's go to Counterpoints. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Give it a second.